Hey, Lipa, can you hear me?
Hello and welcome. Okay, we are in our fifth and final session, ready to sort of wrap up our event today. Thank you everybody for joining us live and for the replay. So glad to have everybody here. And yeah, let's wrap this up. Okay, so what do we got? We've got preparing for 2026, threat forecast, and the first 90 days. So I'm going to moderate this session, but basically this is a team session. So we'll talk about some of the, our session about takeaways, likely attacker behavior and pressure points based on global 2025 incident data, how AI-enabled threats, identity abuse, and SaaS blast radius expansion will continue to evolve, what to stop doing, start doing, and reinforce immediately. And we'll do a kind of concrete 90-day action frame for security and risk leaders operating in global environments. But everybody can kind of take this as your own as well, because you can think about your own security posture, whether you're an individual, a member of a family, part of an organization. So we all have a role to play in improving security. Okay, so again, top line. So I'm going to just open up the floor to our speakers and so we've got 2026 will accelerate 2025 patterns. So the AI attacks, identity abuse, which is a big part of our conversation today. SaaS risks will be 5 to 10 times faster and cheaper. Your attack surface expands faster than defenses. Machine identities outnumber humans 5 to 10 times. Most are unmonitored. And then regulatory enforcements tightening. So in the US, we have Federal Trade Commission. In Europe, you've got GDPR. India, DPDP. In China, CAC. And now prescriptive, but mandate specific controls, not just reasonable security. So, cybersecurity is not just a nice to have, it is actually legally required that you, if you want to defend yourself against legal actions, you really do have to show that you did um, uh, have reasonable security, and now be even more to that. And then your 90-day action frame is your competitive advantage. Move now, and you'll be resilient in 2026. So, what's coming? And we can kind of chat about this more. So, what we know, we've got AI weaponization, LLM-based attacks, 5 to 10 times cheaper, DAS pricing can be less than $50 a month. Phishing success rates can be up to 60% because they're now being personalized and at scale. So we saw a demo in session 1. Just, hey, ChatGPT, here's my prompt. Can you put together, a good-looking phishing email? But what we didn't demo, but would probably just be not as hard, is can you build me the malware, that I put inside the link that I put inside that email that then, sort of steals the information or gets onto that person's computer, and so all of the things that can be learned through AI that we can use to defend, but they can also use to attack. Identity as primary driver surface. So we've had 500 billion plus credential stuffing attempts. OAuth and server accounts compromised. It can accelerate. Machine identities outnumber humans. The SaaS supply chain, 5 to 10 major integration compromises expected, each affecting 5 to 500 downstream orgs. trust shifts to continuous re-verification. Ransomware evolution, shift from encryption and to data theft and extortion. Backup resilience becomes a primary defense. And then there's also the geopolitical cyber landscape with the Russia-Ukraine war and a lot of sort of state-sponsored actors, and the um, China-Taiwan tensions and Iran and Israel. They escalate cyber operations and nation-state target critical infrastructure and AI research. So that's some of what we know. And so that's kind of going to lead us to machine identity crisis, attack surface explosion. So 3 to 10 times more service accounts than humans, most unmonitored and rarely rotated. Why attackers prefer machine identities, long-lived and rarely rotated versus human passwords reset quarterly, often created with broad permissions, contributor, owner, and admin, accessible via code repos, deployment configs, cloud meta, less human scrutiny, automation process is less eyeballs. So 60% of breaches involve machine identities. Only 20% of budget right now is allocated to them. So let me just turn it to our panel here. What thoughts do you have related to machine identity? Oh, okay, I just got a question. The question is just, do you have thoughts or comments on machine identities versus human identities? Whereas, because like, for example, like we're going to have agents and agentic. So an agent is a machine identity and a machine identity is sort of getting that authorization. I mean, the thing that's kind of freaking me out the most is like, I love it and I'm petrified of it. So for example, in Perplexity is saying, give me access to your email, give me access to your hard drive, give me access to everything, and I can go in and I can summarize it and access things. And on one level, it's genius, and on another level, it's horrifying. And I think I sort of saw a headline out of the corner of my eye that said, did AI just delete my entire G drive? And that it's completely unrecoverable. So we are giving machines and agents access to a lot of things. And there are, yeah, sort of machine identities. And they were saying, like, as we train agents to go get information and spend money on our behalf and to make an order, that doesn't stop a scammer from setting up a fake website that the AI agent goes to transact their task. So I think we're also going to have, a whole question about protecting AI. So
Totally
anyway,
agree. I'm sorry, Philip. I totally agree with you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, go
So
for it.
yes, I totally agree with you because the human identities these are like users, means employee, admins, contractors, and authenticate with passwords, MFA, or devices. Operate normally during business hours and make mistakes, get fishy, get tired. But the non-humans like AI identities, agentics, there are another level permissions. There are service principals, OAuth apps, API keys, uh, CI/CD pipelines, bots, automation, or they don't use MFA, don't train it. Often run 24/7. They usually have a broader permission than humans and poorly eventually. So um, it's a very, very critical. I mean, the critical for organizations is to make secure the agentic, the AI. Human users with MFA, non AI agentic identities with OAuth or server principal abuse explored. I mean,
Yeah, no, thank you for adding to that because I think this is something we need to think about. It's just the role
Philip,
of
I
agents.
want to add to it actually. So,
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that's thanks. So yeah, they're the biggest blind spots in the modern security today, right? And we have spent training humans, enforcing MFS, the multi-factor authentication, resetting passwords, and improving email security as well, right? But in the parallel, machine identities like the service accounts, app tokens, API keys, CI/CD credentials have quietly exploded in number, right? Reasons attackers love them is simple. They are long lived, rarely rotated, and often over permission. And unlike human, machines don't raise suspicion, right? And a machine logging in 2 a.m. doesn't look weird unless you are actively monitoring the identity behavior, right? So for me, the key shift is basically the security teams needs to treat the machine identities like a privileged users. That means least privilege rotation, token hygiene, and monitoring abnormal usage, and regularly auditing OAuth apps as well as several principles. So because in 2026 the biggest breaches won't always start with a phishing emails as well. They will start with the one leaked token in a repo or one abuse serviced account and one integration that nobody have reviewed for years, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
So I think so. That's one of them. Let's move on to our next. So the next one, and this is definitely my domain because again I come at this from the law school side of it, is we've got regulatory landscape and so the tightening mandate. So in the U.S. we have the FTC, so phishing resistant MFA for privileged access, help desk controls now, reasonable security, and AI transparency rules. Will kind of so there'll be a lot more in terms of AI governance coming into effect. I mean, for example, within both sorry, IAPP and the CompTIA have both added new credentials for certifications. So you now have GRAI, so the AI governance certification, and now you have instead of just Sec Plus for the security exam, now you have Sec AI Plus, or so or Sec Plus AI. So you've got these new AI credentials kind of coming online. Obviously, two of our speakers are based in Europe and one in India, so we've got this covered. So my understanding is the GDPR is going to have more of 72-hour breach notification, so much stricter. Data minimization and encrypted now are sort of becoming mandatory baselines. And in India, the DPDP serve as 30-day notification, help desk credential reset verification is mandatory, and data protection board enforcing starting this quarter of 2026 and beyond. And so regulators are moving from reactive to prescriptive. So now compliance equals security and sort of that sort of same investment. And then moving that on to the cost of prevention. So there's a 12 to 1 ROI for investing in the infrastructure to protect, which can cost around $1 million, kind of in that range, a little less, a little more. But the cost of one breach is $1 to $5 million for ransomware. For IR and recovery, you're $500,000 to $2 million. For fines, you can be at $1 million to $50 million plus. And then the disruption and churn that's going to come to a business and from like that loss of trust and loss of customers could be anywhere from 5 to 100 million. So that total of $8 million to $150 million, brings that a $1.7 million investment can prevent over $20 million plus in loss. Again, yielding that 12 to 1 ROI. So then the idea here is that we have done a lot of things for a long time, and we oftentimes continue to do things because they've just always worked in the past. But now it's time to start thinking about not just what to do, but perhaps what to stop doing. And this is another point that I'll pause and get feedback from our panel. Is that stop push notification MFA alone. So shift to phishing resistant, FIDO2 and web authentication, stop perimeter first defense, and shift investment to identity layer. Stop annual security training and shift to continuous microlearning and simulations. Stop signature-based malware detection and shift to behavioral EDR. Stop trusting vendors by default and implement SSPM and continuous auditing. Stop expecting users to stop phishing and shift to structural controls and device code prevention. Stop live backups in production and shift to immutable air-gapped storage. And stop thinking prevention and start thinking resilience. So assume a breach and focus on speed and recovery. So again, this is now where I'll turn it to you for comment and input. Cyan, we'll start with you. Right at the top of the screen.
Yeah. Can you just tell me the question again? I didn't hear you.
Oh, we're just commenting on this section of what we're talking about, things that what's become obsolete in defense, like things that we can do better, things that we've always done, and we just do them because we've just always done it that way, and ways to start thinking about new ways of doing things or how to evolve things. I particularly like the one about the don't think of preventing, but think more in terms of resilience. And I also like the idea of continuous auditing and continuous microlearning.
Yeah. So, like, uh, adding to the fear that's removing outdated habits, the biggest change in the security today is the attacker have the automation and the AI, right? And so, if our defenses are still designed for the manual attacks, we will lose, obviously. And the first shift is the identity. Then push notification MFA alone is not enough anymore because of MFA fatigue and social engineering. We need phishing resistance authentication like FIDO2 as well, and web authentication and stronger identity controls as well. Like so, we need an behavioral EDR, an identity-driven detection that catches abnormal usage patterns by monitoring their mouse movements or the keyboard key movements as well, right? Not just known for the bad files. Right? And the third shift is resilience. We must stop thinking only in the terms of prevention. We need to assume breach, protect backups with immutable storage, and focus on speed on containment and recovery, right? So overall, the message is simple. Basically, stop relying on controls that require human to be perfect and start building systems where security works even when the humans are busy, tired, and under pressure as well, like the automation type things also.
Yeah, I see enormous value in that.
What I like about this slide, Philippa, is that it reframes security maturity. Most of those aren't about adding new tools, they are about removing assumptions. So, especially the shift from push MFA and perimeter thinking to identity and resilience. So, in 2025, we saw that prevention alone failed quietly. The teams that did well were the ones that could contain and recover fast.
Absolutely, that was a key takeaway in our last session. Was that if they could reduce the average time and the baseline and get ahead of it, then they were winning. So it's never because it's always a balance of how much are we investing in our time, our resources, our attention, our staff, our money, into cybersecurity defense. So it's never going to be perfect because you have a business to run and you have real lives and real humans in the mix, and now we have all sorts of AI being sort of used against us. So it really is about I like the idea, like it's going to happen. So how are we going to how are we handling it? How are we assuming the breach? And then that focuses on the recovery. So I 100% agree with what you just said. Absolutely. Demir?
Yes, definitely FIDO. There are multiple FIDO authenticators, like I just sent YubiKey or Google Titan. Those are like portable devices. You can use like OTP or any other smart cards are also some security version of FIDO. So they are very often used in enterprises. So smart cards or one-time passwords now are being followed with second factor of password-based authentication. So it could be pretty much anything. There's numerous benefits of using these authentication methods, but definitely, you will never be phishing resistant completely. So make sure to first know what are you vulnerable on, what are you sharing, what are your secrets, and then make sure your smartphones are secure, make sure your laptops are secure before you move further implementing any passwordless or multi-factor authentication system.
Excellent. All right, let's go next. So, what to start? High impact investments. Um, Identity, huge theme for today. Phishing resistant MFA, human machine identity discovery and lifecycle, SSNPM for OAuth apps, ITDR for behavioral detection, and for detection, behavioral EDR, threat hunting, doing that at least quarterly, network detection with NDR or XDR, and SOAR automation. And then what to reinforce, deepening existing capabilities. If you have IAM as zero trust, conditional access, JIT privileged access, segmentation, deepen to micro-segmentation, isolate backups and critical assets, playbooks, automate execution via SOAR, track metrics, improve 20% year over year, threat intel, operationalize for identity compromise, supply chain risks, and geopolitical signals, and training, shift from annual to continuous, and build psychological safety for reporting so that people feel comfortable identifying gaps and not feeling their stage are going to get themselves or their team or their leadership in trouble. And then the 90-day action framework here is 1 to 2 weeks. You can assessment for quick wins, audit current state, disable push MFAs for admins, enable SSNPM. Weeks 3 to 4, you can get it for planning and vendor selection, define 2026 roadmap, evaluate ITDR, SSNPM, EDR, and secure your budget. Weeks 5 through 8, pilot and first playbook, deploy IDTR, SSNPM to 10 to 20%, draft identity compromise playbook, and do tabletop exercises. Week 9 to 11, roll out training metrics, full IDTR, SSNPM deployment, stop training, establish a baseline dwell time, and MTTR. And this is the thing. So if you already have a playbook, you could evolve it. If you don't have a playbook, great opportunity to put one in place. Leading us to assessment checklist. So identity, do you have IDTR deployed? How many service accounts documented? Percentage of users on phishing resistant MFA? Detection, documented playbooks for compromise, current dwelling time, baseline, behavioral EDR deployed, and resilience, percentage of critical data immutable, last restore test, 30 plus days old, and backups air gapped. So kind of all questions for your assessment questionnaire. And then weeks 3 to 4, planning and budget justification, define your 2026 roadmap, priority 1, ITDR deployment, identity playbooks, priority 2, SSNPM, service account governance, priority 3, EDR tuning, backup expansion and segmentation, and then of course vendor evaluation, ITDR, Okta, Entra ID, Ping, SSNPM. There's other tools, Varus, Okra, Visa, EDR, Defender, CrowdStrike, Elastic, and then board business case. What is the return on investment? The competitive risk, the regulatory alignment, because now compliance and security are converging. So quick wins from weeks 1 and 2 is build momentum, planning week 3 and 4, ensure smart execution in week 5, and then you get into pilot deployment in your first playbook. So IDTR pilot, deploy to first 10 to 20% of users, tune baselines, target less than 10% false positive rate by week 7, SSM pilot, scan Salesforce, Microsoft 365, Google Slack, catalog high risk and unused apps, remove obvious rogue apps, identify compromised playbook, detection, IDTR alerts, investigation, containment, recovery, sort of the 2 to 4 hour MFA re-enroll, containment, again, revoke those tokens or reset the passwords, and then table stop scenarios, impossible travel alert for CFO, walk through playbook, identify gaps, and then refine before a week 9 rollout. Weeks 9 to 12, rollout, full rollout, and establish metrics. Deployments, ITDR and SSNPM to 100%, EDR behavioral tuning, SOC and IR team training, and then metrics to establish baseline for 2026 targets. So get your dwell time target to less than 7 days. Again, the 2025 baseline was 11 days. MTTR targets, less than 15 minutes from alert to investigation. MTTC, target less than 30 minutes from investigation to containment. Alert accuracy, greater than 90%. So keeping that false positive rate under 10, and playbook coverage, target 80% plus of incidents following the playbook that you've already established. So with that, and then it goes beyond 90 days into Q2 and Q4. Well, I'll wrap up this one and then I'll turn it to our panel of experts to chime in on all this. Machine identity governance launch, segmentation expansion, help desk security hardening, Q3 immutable backup expansion, behavioral EDR optimization, vendor governance program, Q4 threat hunting scaling, quarterly to monthly, zero trust architecture expansion, post quantum cryptography pilot, and 2026 retrospective, measured dwell time improvement, MTTR, MTTC gains, alert accuracy, playbook coverage, and inform your 2027 roadmap. So now I'm going to pause. We covered a lot of ground there. Let's get some feedback from our panel. Konstantinos, I'm going to start with you. Of what you would add to a 90-day playbook or plan that includes playbooks.
Oh, well, definitely I would go with XDR. I think it's a unified platform available all over the place, whether you use a stack including endpoints, cloud, network, emails, or identities. I think it's necessary to choose EDR at first for endpoints, and later in as you advance, like you advance from DevOps to SecOps, and now we have DevSecOps. The same way we would evolve from endpoint detection and response to the extended detection and response, which happens to be XDR, which now includes cloud, network, and other identities. I think that's the complexity, and it leads the complexity to optimize workflows, but also to consolidate these multiple tools available already.
I totally agree with Damir. What stands out here is that these are not control plane investments. Uh, these are control plane investments, not perimeters one. Identity, machine identity, self governance, and behavioral detection are where breaches were actually won or lost in 2025. None of these assume perfect prevention. They assume a compromise and focus on limiting blast radius and speeding containment.
Yeah, and I like the Q2 starts with a machine identity, governance, and segmentation expansion, right? Because that's where the modern reaches quietly begin through service accounts, auth apps, and lateral movements. And if I had one suggestion, it would be like ensuring every quarter has clear owners and measurable KPIs, so it stays actionable and doesn't become a strategy document only.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about living documents is important. These are not just, I think they also say that about contracts, that they kind of go into the drawer until there's a problem, and then everybody looks at, sort of everything from where's the comma. And so these playbooks need to be real and living and evolving and put into practice for sure. So we'll just wrap it out here. So some of the thing is within all of this is like tailoring to your region and context, again with compliance and security, kind of the regulatory environment, kind of folding in together. So DPO engagement, 72-hour breach notification, help desk controls, So, within Europe, sort of what does the GDPR consider to be reasonable, and are you doing those actions? For North America, SOC and playbook maturity, phishing resistant MFA, and help desk security. Within the Asia Pacific region, help desk credential reset verification, 30-day breach notification, and DPB engagement. China, CAC, incident reporting compliance, cross-border data controls, and annual security assessments. And then for Africa, especially we have a lot of our audiences in Nigeria, and sort of sub-Saharan focus. There's emerging regulatory frameworks like Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, in South Africa, the POPIA, and critical infrastructure protection mandates, identity theft, and SIM swap attacks are prevalent. And so there's help desk credential verification is essential. And with all of this is also training and capacity building for both the workforce in the cybersecurity field and just more of a security posture for everybody, in organizations and in their own sort of personal activities. But for an organization by January 2027, what success looks like is detection and response. You reduce that dwell time to less than 7 days, which would be a 30% improvement. MTTR, less than 15 minutes. MTTC, less than 30. 80% plus playbook coverage, and less than 10% false positives. And then identity and resilience, 100% admins on phishing resistant MFA, service account inventory complete, 100% critical data immutable, and quarterly restore testing is done. Which leads us to a bottom line. 2026 requires action now. The threats will accelerate. Enabled attacks, identity abuse, and supply chain risks will be 5 to 10% more prevalent. Regulatory tightening, FTC, GDPR, India, DPDP, China, CAC. Compliance and security are converging. Your 90-day window is your advantage. Organizations that move now will be resilient in 2026. Those that wait will be vulnerable. Stop defending perimeters. Start defending identities, endpoints, and data. The new model is identity first, zero trust, and resilience driven. And what we just haven't really totally covered, but we'll continue to cover in follow-up sessions, is just following those frameworks. So the NIST framework is a great place to start, and obviously there's ISO, all sorts of different ISO frameworks, which are more sort of applicable in regulated industries and globally, as well as the CIS controls. So finding frameworks that work and then working through them and applying them to your organization. And then also just education and awareness for cybersecurity, which is why we're here. And we had a great program in December on specifically looking at the actual Microsoft solutions and innovation related to all this. So it's kind of a follow-on because that was the solutions. And this is, from a technical point of view, and this is the problems and why we would even need those solutions. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to our team for our closing words as we wrap out our event. And thank you everybody for joining us. Like I said, whether you've joined us live or you are catching the replay, we're just super excited you're here. And we'll have a lot of follow-on materials. We were able to put together a mini book from our last event. I look forward to doing the same here. So, Cyan?
Yeah, just got it right. So to close AI didn't change the goal of attackers, right? It changed their speed and scale. So our response can't be manual and reactive anymore, right? If we stop outdated controls, start high impact investments, and reinforce what already works, we can stay ahead. And I'm not here to obviously scare you, I'm here to prepare you. And obviously, thank you so much.
I love that. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to prepare you. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Demir?
Okay, so thank you for coming. It was a pleasure talking during all these sessions and listening to my fellow colleagues. I guess there's a lot going on this year, especially regarding privacy and security, cybersecurity. So let's all be stay vulnerable, but let's pay attention also to being more resilient in the future. And yeah, let's always put an emphasis on the idea that we are building. So as long as we know what we are looking forward to build, then it will be much easier for us to see all these vulnerabilities that we don't see and we are not resilient to otherwise. Yeah. Thank you all for coming.
Fantastic. Excellent. Konstantinos. And that's if you are able to come back on camera and online. If not, that's okay. We will close this out. And thank you, everybody, for being here today, and great event. And thank you to all our speakers for all of your great insights. And I think we covered a lot of ground, and I think have one of the more comprehensive wrap ups of 20 to 2025 cybersecurity landscape. And so I think we kind of own the space now for having really identified what those problems are, solutions are. And so I'm excited to, uh, you know, now start repurposing this information and sharing it in other ways, because as I said, I think we have just owned the corner on this and done a great job of summarizing it and, what went past, and really kind of identifying and forecasting, where we are and where we need to go next to fully prepare for 2026 and beyond. So thank you again, everyone, and we will look forward to seeing you next time. And I'll always say, whatever if you're on YouTube or you're on LinkedIn, definitely like and subscribe. And the Luma link is in the description, and encourage you to connect with all our speakers on LinkedIn. Every one of their names goes right to their LinkedIn profile. So yeah, encourage you to stay connected with us, and we'll see you next time.
Right.